Guys, I am back. So where the heck have I been for the last, I don't know, month and 2 months? 2 months? I have been moving across the country. So I just moved at the beginning of September here from Minneapolis to San Francisco. So pretty shortly after that last dev log, I got into a frantic state of packing everything I own into a bunch of boxes and moving out here. But over the past maybe week and a half or so, I've been a little more settled and been able to get some work done on the game. So we're going to get back into the updates. We'll talk a little bit more about what me moving out here means for the game and development, things like that, going forward a little bit later in the video. But let's just jump in and start looking at some of the new updates. So one of the major things coming out of the last video and kind of the last pieces that I was working on was just understanding the pacing of the game a little bit better. So, you know, slowing things down, making it so that it's easy for a newer player or really anybody to kind of make meaningful reactions and interactions in the game. So just tweaking some numbers, really focusing in on like what I want that pace to be, like how, you know, looking at other games and seeing like how fast they actually move, like what is the time in between each interaction, and just kind of getting that feel down a lot better. It's a lot of playing with numbers, and, you know, starting, stopping, saying, did this feel good or did this feel worse? Another, you know, there was a number of bug fixes that came out of the playtest as well as Ori. If you can see, oh, of course I'm going to break it first go. So a lot of things I've been working on have been really just roughing in, and then going to work on the polish part of it later. So for Ori, we used to have his wind box as his forward aerial, but now changed that to sort of a lasso move that we're talking about. It doesn't really have the animations that it needs right now, but you can still see he's reaching out, grabbing it, and just very slowly pulling it in towards himself. So that will be kind of, I think, what that move is going to transform into, at least for now. Just to kind of tweak that move. You know, the feedback from the first playtest was that move really didn't do much. The wind box, sorry, didn't really do much for people, and that they kind of wanted to, you know, see something different. So I had that idea previously, so I'm gonna give that a try, just to have that really defensive focused move for Ori, and see how that feels for a bit. So, you know, on top of that, also gone from 2019.1 to Unity 2019.2, and upgraded the input system version, which has been nice. It's really smooth. It's just very, very simple and easy to use. I'm really loving that new input system. I'm having a couple of slight difficulties with joysticks on the edge and flipping back and forth between them, leading to a little bit of a, I guess, difficulty in the input. But I think that I'm like somewhat % sure that it's my code that's the issue and not actually the input system. So I'll keep playing around with that. But yeah, so you may have heard me mention earlier that right now I'm roughing a bunch of things in, and then I'm going to be focusing pretty heavily on polish. So this kind of leads into, like, what does it mean for me being out here now in this game? I know I've mentioned pretty heavily in pretty much everything I've said in the last couple videos about having real people playtest this and get in there is super important to the game. Now that I'm out here in San Francisco, I don't actually know a ton of people out here, so that's going to be a lot more difficult for me. But what I can do in the meantime is, again, just really focus in on that polish and making these characters and their controllers feel very good, right? Just running around the stage, hitting the ball, doing things like that, make that feel really good. And then, you know, getting in that playtesting whenever I can outside of that, outside of this. There's still plenty of things for me to be working on right now with this game, so I don't see it kind of falling apart anytime soon. But I do need to kind of figure out how the best way for me to get more regular playtests in is going to be. But yeah, so on the train of, okay, let's hit that polish train and make things feel as good as possible. You know, I've seen a little bit of it earlier, but right now I'm focusing pretty heavily on Kid Ninja, and just getting him feeling as solid as possible. I just feel like he's got a pretty good amount of readability and flavor to him right now, and so I just want to make sure that Kid Ninja feels really, really good, and then start to use him as kind of a baseline for all of the other characters to try to match that level of readability and you know, just kind of polish that he's going to have. But you can see I've added in a couple of things, little run poofs when you start running or when you turn around. And then there's a little landing poof. Right now it happens whenever you land, so it looks a little weird in some situations. Doesn't matter how hard you hit, but that's something that I'm looking to kind of clean up and polish, where that landing puff is a little bit more. It happens only a little bit more when the user or the player is actually hitting pretty hard. As you can see too, I've a really simple ball deformation. All it's doing is making the scale Y go down. So I need to play with that so that it actually hits from the direction that the user is hitting the ball, and just mess with that a little bit more. But yeah, I need to just make that happen a little bit more. But these little touches here with the poofs and the ball deformation, I think are making it feel a little bit more, I don't know, it just feels a little bit more polished, better. Maybe that's just me you know, wanting it to be closer to what I'm actually feeling, but I do feel like it actually makes the game feel slightly better. One other thing that I have added, and has been a little bit testy because again everything is pretty rough at this point. I added in a little timeout. If you sit in the goal for too long, should only be a second. Of course, it's just not going to work for me right now. If you sit in the goal for a second or longer, it should just pull you out and drop you back in the middle, right there, just like that. So this should be occurring pretty consistently, and it was yesterday. And then I added something else, which of course, before making the video, didn't check. So of course it broke it, but that's fine. We'll again get back into polishing that up a little bit later after I get kind of as many of these things roughed in as I want to. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're going from here on out, is going to be focusing on polishing those characters, getting the things that I can have full control over as solid as possible, and then trying to just be as ready as possible for any and all playtest opportunities. Because again, I still think that's where I'm going to learn the most, get the best feedback from people. But I think that there's still plenty that I can be doing outside of getting that feedback. But I do need to overall figure out what that cadence can be, and how I can make that happen as much as possible going forward. But yeah, so that's been the quick update since I moved out. I'm hoping to get back onto a more regular cadence with these now that I'm more settled in. But yeah, again, even if it's just me, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Whoop.